The moment my ex-husband saw me on that beach, holding hands with another man, his face went white. Not with jealousy, with pure paralyzing horror, because the man beside me wasn't just my boyfriend. He was the CEO who had personally signed the paperwork that bankrupted my ex's entire life 6 months earlier. If you've ever been told you weren't good enough, that you were holding someone back from their dreams, this story is for you. Hit that like button, subscribe, and let's talk about what happens when karma comes full circle in the most poetic way imaginable. The salt air filled my lungs as Mark and I walked barefoot along the shoreline, our fingers intertwined, the setting sun painting the sky in shades of amber and rose. 3 years. 3 years since I'd last seen Alex. 3 years since he'd shattered my world with words so cold they still occasionally haunted my dreams. But that afternoon, for the first time since our marriage imploded, I felt genuinely, completely at peace. I wasn't looking for him. I didn't spend my days hoping to run into him, fantasizing about showing him what he'd lost. I'd moved on. I'd healed. I'd rebuilt myself from the ground up, and Mark had been there through the final stages of that transformation, showing me what real partnership looked like. So when I saw him standing near the boardwalk, alone, staring at the endless ocean, my heart didn't race with longing or pain. It simply recognized him, like spotting an old piece of furniture you'd donated years ago. He looked different. Thinner, definitely. Older in a way that suggested the weight had been shed through stress, not health. His shoulders had that particular slouch of defeat that no amount of good posture training can hide. And then his eyes found mine. The shock on his face was immediate. Visceral. He froze mid-breath, his entire body going rigid as his gaze traveled from my face to my hand, still wrapped in marks, then back to my face. I saw his lips part, saw the color drain from his features, saw something that looked disturbingly close to panic flash across his expression. That's when I knew. Somehow, in that split second, I knew this encounter was about to become something far more significant than an awkward run-in with an ex. Let me take you back 3 years, to the moment everything fell apart. Alex and I had been married for 5 years. We'd built what I thought was a solid life together, modest but happy. I ran a small boutique marketing consultancy, working with local businesses, making enough to be comfortable. Alex worked in investment banking, always chasing the next big deal, the next promotion, the next validation. I thought we were happy. I thought we were partners. Then came dinner. The one where he sat across from me at our kitchen table, the table we'd picked out together at an estate sale, the table where we'd shared thousands of meals, and told me he was leaving. "I've been presented with an opportunity," he'd said, his voice clinical, detached. "It's a private equity venture. High stakes, high reward, the kind of thing that could set us up for life." "That's amazing," I'd replied, reaching across the table for his hand. No. He pulled his hand back. Not we. Me. The silence that followed was suffocating. "The people I'm going into business with," he continued, not meeting my eyes, "they're a different caliber. Old money, connected. They operate at a level that requires a certain image, a certain lifestyle. And honestly, Sarah, you don't fit into that picture." I remember feeling like I'd been punched in the stomach. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying your little boutique business, your help local mom and pop shops with their Facebook ads thing, it's not going to work in the circles I'm about to move in. I need a wife who's running a tech startup, who's on boards, who's making connections that matter. He paused, searching for the word that would cut deepest. "You're not ambitious enough." I sat there, stunned as he laid out the terms. He wanted a divorce. Immediately. Clean break. He'd already consulted a lawyer. He'd give me the house, which we'd barely started paying off, and a small settlement. He needed to be unencumbered, he said, free to reinvent himself completely. "You're an anchor, Sarah, and where I'm going, I can't afford to carry dead weight." Dead weight. He called me dead weight. Within 6 weeks he was gone. Moved to a different city, changed his number, blocked me on everything. I heard through mutual friends that he'd indeed landed this massive investment opportunity, that he was rubbing elbows with people whose names appeared in Forbes, that he was living in a penthouse and driving a car worth more than our house. And I was left alone, sitting in that house, wondering if maybe he was right. Maybe I wasn't ambitious enough. Maybe I really had been holding him back. The first year after Alex left was the hardest year of my life. I threw myself into work, growing my consultancy not out of ambition but out of pure survival instinct. I needed to prove, to myself more than anyone, that I wasn't dead weight, that I had value, that I was more than the small, inadequate person Alex had made me believe I was. Slowly, painfully, I rebuilt my sense of self. I expanded my client roster. I hired 2 employees. I started sleeping through the night again, and then, at a networking event I'd forced myself to attend, I met Mark. Mark was different from Alex in every conceivable way. Where Alex was flashy and status-obsessed, Mark was quietly confident. Where Alex needed constant validation, Mark was secure in himself. And where Alex had looked at my business with barely concealed contempt, Mark asked thoughtful questions about my work, genuinely interested in what I was building. We started dating 6 months after we met. He told me on our 3rd date that he was a CEO, but downplayed it so thoroughly that I assumed he ran a small firm. It wasn't until a month later that I Googled him and realized Mark was the CEO of Titan Point Capital, one of the most respected investment firms in the country. But he never made me feel small. Never made me feel like I needed to be different, bigger, more impressive. He liked me exactly as I was, ambitions and all. Now, back on that beach, Mark had felt me tense the moment I spotted Alex. "You okay?" He murmured, concerned in his voice. "That's him," I whispered. "That's Alex." Mark's expression shifted almost imperceptibly. Something flickered across his face. Recognition, maybe, or calculation. "Do you want to leave?" "No." I surprised myself with how steady my voice sounded. "No, I don't." Alex had spotted us watching him. He was walking toward us now, his steps hesitant, his face a mask of conflicting emotions. "Sarah," he said, stopping a few feet away. His voice cracked on my name. "Alex." I kept my tone neutral. His eyes kept darting to Mark, then back to me, then to our joined hands. You look good. Really good. Thank you." The silence stretched between us, uncomfortable, loaded with 3 years of unspoken words. Finally, he gestured weakly toward Mark. "Are you... This is Mark," I said simply. "My boyfriend." Alex's Adam's apple bobbed as he swallowed hard. "Nice to meet you," he managed, extending a hand toward Mark. Mark shook it, his expression polite but cool. "Likewise." Something in Mark's voice made Alex pause. He was staring at Mark now, really looking at him, and I saw the exact moment recognition hit. His face went from pale to ashen. "Wait," Alex breathed. You're Mark Davidson, Titan Point Capital." "I am," Mark confirmed evenly. Alex's eyes went wide with something that looked like sheer panic. He took a step back, his hand dropping limply to his side. You're the one who... 6 months ago," Mark said quietly. "Yes." I looked between them, piecing it together but needing confirmation. "Mark?" Mark squeezed my hand gently before explaining. "Alex's venture group came to us 18 months ago looking for a bridge investment. We did our due diligence and passed initially, but they were persistent. Eventually, we invested a small amount, more out of courtesy to one of the other partners than confidence in the model. The fundamentals were never sound. 6 months ago, we exercised our right to call the investment and liquidate the assets. The venture collapsed. Alex was shaking now, visibly trembling. You destroyed everything. You knew, you had to have known, that calling that investment would crater the entire operation." "We knew the operation was already unsustainable," Mark corrected. "We simply stopped throwing good money after bad." I pulled my hand from Mark's and stepped toward Alex, watching him flinch as I approached. 3 years ago, he'd made me feel worthless. He'd called me an anchor, dead weight, not ambitious enough. And now here he stood, broken by his own ambition, face to face with the life he'd thrown away. "You left me because I wasn't good enough for your future," I said softly. The words came out measured, calm, devastating in their simplicity. "You chased millions, Alex. You burned our marriage to the ground for this venture. You cut me out of your life so completely I might as well have never existed, and it all failed. Every single thing you sacrificed us for failed. Sarah, His voice broke. And the man I'm dating now, the man who makes me happier than I ever thought possible, he's the one who signed the paperwork that ended it all. That ended everything you left me for. A tear rolled down Alex's cheek. Just one, but it was enough. I hope it was worth it, I said. Then I turned back to Mark, slipped my hand into his, and we walked away. Behind us, I heard Alex make a sound, something between a sob and a gasp. But I didn't look back. Sometimes the universe has a sense of poetry that no revenge fantasy could match. I didn't plan this. I didn't orchestrate it. I just lived my life, healed, and found someone who valued me. The rest? That was just karma doing its work. If this story resonated with you, drop a comment about your own experience with being underestimated. And remember, when someone shows you who they really are, believe them. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.